Yo, how's it going everybody? It's me, Arctic. Today's video, we are going to be going over my top 10 tips and tricks for Raiden Shogun. I got some actual requests for something like this, so that's what we're going to be doing in today's video. Basically, we're going to be talking about how to use Raiden with other characters, what I've basically learned from a week of playing with Raiden Shogun. We're also going to be going over her skills and stuff, and basically giving you little tips on how they work as well. But if you are new to the channel, remember to subscribe. I'm trying to get to 8,000 subscribers. We're making some pretty good progress. But anyway, let's get back to the video. So basically how I'm going to categorize these tips and tricks is the first section is going to be actual talents and that kind of stuff. Basically talents, team comps, and whatnot. And then the later part is going to be actual combat tips and tricks that I have picked up on recently. I'm not really going to be going too deep into the actual build. However, I'm basically just going to be showing exactly like a few things, a few tips and tricks that actually make Raiden Shogun pretty interesting. And so I think the first tip that we're going to start off with is going to be how her Espell works. And basically what her Espell does is it's like this sub DPS type of ability, has a long duration, and it actually gives you an elemental burst damage bonus. And so like this is actually very, very helpful on all characters, including Raiden herself. Basically this can give her like I think a 30% damage boost once you get this up to like its max level, which will give you 0.3 damage per energy consumed. Now the best way to utilize this is to cast it right before you would use other bursts with your team. However, if you are going for like vaporize reactions, for example with like a Tartaglia, this won't really help you too much unless you can like time it properly, which is still possible, except it's just kind of harder. And so I think the best way to end up using this elemental burst damage bonus is with like electro charge team comps, overloaded charge team comps, because this will just give a flat damage bonus and actually make basically their bursts do a bit more damage to compensate for whatever like reaction damage that you would be getting otherwise. I use this all the time in my Tartaglia team comp. I don't have his burst leveled up all the way. I'm probably going to do that eventually, but right now I'm able to hit a substantial amount of damage more just because of that one skill right there. One trick I have is related to the energy economy with Raiden Shogun. Basically her passive, what it does is it gives you like a little bit more energy restoration based on the amount of hits that you hit enemies with. And so yeah, this does restore 2.1 energy at the talent level 6 that I have it right now. I think this goes up to 2.5 energy. And that doesn't seem like a lot. However, if you do end up building your Raiden Shogun for higher amounts of energy recharge, this actually starts to stack up quite a bit, and you're able to actually basically regen a bunch of your team's energy. For example, all of my bursts right now are at 2/3 of the way full, and Bennett's at 0% of the way full. So if I had my Raiden's ability full right here, basically I would just cast my ult, do my auto attacks, you know, and then basically their abilities should be full, and then I cycle through their abilities, and basically that's going to allow me to use the downtime in between Raiden Shogun. Now with my team comp right here, it does take me about like 2 cycles of Raiden Shogun's ult to actually completely regen like energy from 0 on like my Tartaglia, which is fine considering that like it's a give or take thing. Like I'm not gonna just be able to instantly charge up my Raiden's stuff, which I think that's like one of the main things to keep in mind also with Raiden. If you want her completely for charging up your burst, yeah, stay like in the 40 to 60 range cost on your burst on your other characters you're using. But if you just want Raiden as a damage dealer and who help supply a bit of energy, she's not that bad actually. She's a little bit hard to get used to, but basically you just cast her burst whenever you have it up. We'll try to go for the maximum amount of resolve stacks, and it's not that difficult to get up to maximum amount, except that the reason why I don't really recommend this is because you're ending up losing out on DPS and energy recharge potential, because this energy restoration is not even based off of the amount of resolve you have. It's just based off of the amount of energy recharge that you have with her passive talent right here. And so really you can stand to lose on this resolve stacks basically, unless you are going for like a nuke damage with like your initial slash, What I really recommend is just being able to spam her burst whenever there's like 1 or 2 enemies around you, or like a bigger enemy, because she's not that bad on single target, and also area of effect she's not that bad either. Makes Raiden actually pretty interesting in her burst is that her charged attacks aren't like right on top of her. They're kind of like similar to a Yaku's, where like they affect enemies like in a large area of effects and also further away. So like from here, if I charge attack right here, I would be hitting a large area in this area, you know? And so that's really good if you are fighting like a group of enemies. You don't want to be right on top of the enemies. You want to be like about this far away from the enemies if they were this wall. You want to be about that far away, because then you're going to be able to hit all of the enemies. And if you're close by, I would just recommend doing like auto attacks, you know? They're basically about the same combo. And that's basically how to use her charged attacks. Team comps, I think Electrocharge team comp is probably her most fluid team comp, I would say. However, there's also other team comps that you can do. Like you can use like a Raiden with like a low burst energy cost characters. For example, like if you use her with someone like, I forget, like Aloy, Diluc. Diluc's a pretty good option for this as well. But really my biggest tip for Raiden team comps is you want to have one character that's going to be like your active DPS or like supplement DPS, with Raiden being like your burst DPS, basically being able to be a DPS while your other DPS is down. Like I think Zhao and Tartaglia probably work the best for this, but you can use like Eula for example. Also Eula is a very consistent main DPS. You can use someone like Ganyu. Ganyu works pretty good. Diluc works pretty good for this actually as well. And then for like a third slot, I'd recommend some sort of like support. Basically, I'm using Kazuha because he can boost either my Tartaglia or Raiden's damage with how this works. And then I'd recommend like a healer or like a damage booster. And now Kujo-Sara works pretty good, except that Bennett I think works a little bit better because of his duration on his burst. And with Raiden, you can pretty much have constant Bennett bursts up. Mine is that Electro Traveler does not work whatsoever with Raiden. Raiden doesn't benefit from Electro Traveler's energy recharge gains bonus, so she literally doesn't work. Plus she can't even trigger Electro Traveler's burst inside of her own burst, so it basically makes Electro Traveler useless with Raiden, and so that's another tip that I'm going to keep in mind. Okay, so in the Abyss, I have a few tips for this basically. Basically, you're using Raiden as a sub DPS mostly, but then also basically energy restoration. It works very nicely if you are going for like high energy cost burst teams, where like they really rely on their burst to actually deal their most DPS. For example, like a Zhao or a Eula, this can actually work pretty nicely. And I have ran through with like Eula and Raiden Shogun, and it's actually a pretty good combo. But yeah, since Raiden is Electro, like she's not really that great against like shields per se, because Electro doesn't really have a direct 2x bonus like against shields. Like Hydra shields it's alright against. Cryo shields you can't really do anything against. And then Pyro shields it's not that bad against, just because of the overloaded reaction that it does. So it's not that bad, but it doesn't really help you out too much. But let's go through here and I'll basically show you guys some gameplay of how to use Raiden Shogun a little bit effectively. And since I have my burst, there's no reason to cast my Raiden Shogun stuff, so I'll do something like this. But then I can basically just cast my burst. And now, since I didn't apply my elemental skill before that, you want to do that as soon as you get into burst. Before, it's pretty much preferable. And see, once I get out of my burst, I basically switch over to this, and my Tartaglia is almost full again. That's nice. So basically, I can just cycle my abilities on my other characters. And then as for using like Tartaglia with Raiden, it can work like this. Since this is an Electro Shield, I can't really do much against this other than cast my burst. Overloaded does a lot of damage against those. But where's the enemy? Okay, I can't find them. Oh gosh, it's so... oh my gosh. And see, yeah, like Raiden, you can sometimes get like hard destroyed with that. But I mean, most of where your DPS is coming from this is from your Most of where your like DPS is coming from is from Tartaglia and Raiden when she's in her burst. And see, this is a pretty good example right here because I can cast that, I can cast Raiden's burst right there. But yeah, like her charge attacks, not that bad. Against stuff like this. Oh gosh, my Raiden's almost dead. Oh gosh, there's Hydro, that sucks. Okay. See, but my Bennett burst basically gets back up again. See, charge attacks are pretty decent against this range of enemies. See, I was able to hit that dude over there. It works pretty nicely. But Tartaglia definitely works very well with Raiden. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Those were just some tips and tricks that I learned about how to use Raiden. Anyway, it's been me, Arctic. I will see you guys next time. Farewell.